All righty. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Inside View with Teddy Panos. I am your host, Teddy Panos, and we're bringing you this podcast one more time on Inside Lowell, www.insidelowell.com. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, head on over to that website, find out everything there is to know about the Mill City. As we like to say, if Lowell is your home, this is your place, InsideLowell.com. And with that, I want to bring in the Pod Squad back for our second Inside View with Teddy Panos. Going, let's see, we're going left to right on your computer screens. Jack Mitchell, blogger, provocateur extraordinaire. I won't call you a pioneer this time because, but if I call you a provocateur, that pretty much sums it up.
I'm cool with that.
You're down with provocateur. Yeah. In the middle, the rose between two thorns yet again, the hyphen, Mikaela Hondros-McCarthy. Good evening, good morning.
Not the morning.
Whenever you folks are watching this, how are you, Mikaela?
Good evening. I'm good. How are you?
Glad to have you here again. And of course, Mike Bacigalupo, a.k.a. Batch, one of the more prolific and controversial contributors to InsideLowell.com is with us as well.
I don't know if that's good or bad right there. I'm good.
It's great. And I noticed, let's see, we've got a couple of waters here on the table, right, that we can see. And then over there in Batch's Corners, what is the refreshment?
That would be a Guinness. A Guinness for tonight.
Yes. Are they a sponsor?
No, it's a dark can that's waiting to be announced with sponsorship.
All right, yeah, we would love any bars, restaurants in the area that sell Guinness. We are more than happy to advertise and get your message out there. You can get your logo on the screen somewhere on the side of me or on the bottom of our guests, and have it play out so thousands and soon tens of thousands of viewers and listeners can catch.
It's been a long day, Teddy.
It certainly has for you. This is actually the third podcast that you're recording today.
Yeah, it's been fun though. It's been fun.
That's why I called you prolific.
I will say this though, you were right about your head gets. There's like so many shots of my bald head in one of those podcasts. It's just terrible, but whatever. We'll learn as we go.
This is why we did radio, and unfortunately, the cameras are gonna train us differently.
So, just a couple of ridiculous things first. Your podcast with Danielle was awesome. The recap, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
The feedback I got over the weekend was amazing. People that had read different articles. Like I pretty much heard something on everybody's articles, whether it was Frankie's or Patrick Cook's, whatever. I saw your article was reposted from, I think it was Corey.
Yeah.
Corey did.
Awesome.
I directed a couple
City
of my
Councilor Corey Robinson.
Yeah.
I directed a couple of my family child care providers to your information.
Oh, good. It's like getting a $550 check in the mail almost.
But my favorite comment was, I can't believe Jack Mitchell's doing something with Teddy. And I'm like, you have no idea like how much these guys have talked over the years and all that. So it was I think the response has been positive. So
well, we're definitely excited. We've gotten great response. Website first week alone, 3,000 unique people came to that website, and that's only growing already. In week 2, our Facebook, our reach over the last 28 days is now beyond 20,000. Our engagement beyond 17,000.
Wow. Congratulations!
Which for a new venture is we're quite excited about it, and hopefully we just keep growing as more and more content gets posted, more and more contributors get active. We still get a few quote unquote insiders who haven't even posted their first articles yet or podcasts, and when they do, we think we're going to really make some big numbers. So
and you haven't even done a live show yet.
Well, we did our debate, our debate, Rodney Elliott and Carla Miller. Last week. We are going to do some live election coverage on November 8th, and for those of you interested in politics, not just Lowell, but we'll talk some state issues as well, because the folks who take the state offices and those ballot initiatives are going to affect residents of Lowell and the surrounding community. So on November 8th, we're going to go live at 7 p.m. And then we'll do a recap show the following morning as well, maybe get into some of the national issues and how those start to affect the area. a lot of folks say, well, what does it matter what happens in New York or in California or whatever? Well, one of the things I like to point out is, Congresswoman Lori Trahan, who most of us expect will be able to coast to victory. She came in the Democratic wave of 2018, and her first 4 years in Congress, she has been serving with Speaker of her own party, being in power there. If she's successful in her reelection, will she have to serve with a Republican Speaker, dare I say, a Trumper in Kevin McCarthy? How will that affect the dynamic? So you can always take these national issues. Everything comes back to Lowell anyway. We all know that.
If the Republicans are in power and McCarthy is the Speaker, then you'll see more of Lori Trahan, because the Republicans don't like to govern. So the Congresswoman will have more what they call district days. All right, she'll be in district more because Republicans don't want to actually do any legislation.
Oh yes, that's definitely. They've never done any legislation. You're right.
It's look at the calendar.
Yeah.
Like you can ask the staffers from, say, Songus. I mean, I used to talk to them and they would be like, "Oh, we've got plenty of district days," because Songus did actually serve under, I think, Boehner, right?
Yeah, she did. She came in during a Republican Speaker of the House.
So that means you have to work harder and do more? Is that what you mean?
They
locally
spend locally, yeah. Because they're not doing the work in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're just more efficient with their time and they don't waste time.
Don't hurt yourself. Like the contortions that you're doing over there.
Listen, I mean, is it that difficult to? I mean, we know that they may spend more days in the district than in D.C. under certain speakers of the House, right. But do we know if they're actually getting more accomplished or actually, being as efficient with their time?
Well, I mean, the Republican Party are basically vandalized government. They're not really. I don't know.
We are just getting right into it. So how do you measure?
Republicans bad, Democrats good.
I'm sure. Like if you're a working class person, yeah, right. But
or an academic, yeah, or one of these rich millionaires like Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg. The working class, right?
Yeah.
Zuckerberg worked really hard to steal that idea from the twins.
Well, I mean, Zuckerberg invented a thing.
Did he?
I thought it was that
Zuckerberg I
thought it was those
Von Bülow twins.
Yeah, those ginger twins, right? That wrote a lot. Wasn't that their idea?
The Army Hammer.
Hey, Mr. Lowell stole all his ideas he brought back here from the British. I mean, if you've ever gone down to the
he stole them
museum, he was.
Oh yeah,
that was industrial sabotage. What he committed. We like to call it entrepreneurship. But the story I heard was about industrial sabotage.
Yeah, he had a photographic memory, didn't he?
And he went in, walked through their mills, saw how they were using hydropower, went back to his hotel room, jotted things down in sketches and notes.
Well, they shouldn't have let him in. That was their fault.
Because they didn't have microfilm or cell phones or whatever.
Listen, any injustices against the British are allowable.
Wait, do we have to pay?
It's like intellectual property theft.
Do we have to pay reparations to the British now too?
We already have. We bailed them out of World War II. We're fine.
That's true. We really did. All right.
Wait. So I will say this on the election thing: the hate ads against
Diana Zizzaglio.
Yeah, I'm kind of mad. They're pretty bad, man.
I haven't seen any of them.
Oh, it's just like.
Well, they're calling her a Republican, basically, saying she's
political insider and this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm ambivalent on DeZoglio. Like, I'm likely going to vote for her.
I am not ambivalent because I think she's going to I think she's going to do really well.
If she audits the Secretary of the Commonwealth, then I'll be impressed.
I think she's going to audit a lot of things. I'll tell you that.
The Secretary of the Commonwealth, then I'll stay on the fence. Thank you.
She is arguably my favorite Massachusetts politician because she actually isn't afraid to take on the establishment, and that includes her own party. Speaker of the House, her own party hated her. The Senate president certainly had no love lost for her. Charlie Baker hated her. Anybody who's ticking off that many powerful people from all sides is okay in my book.
I mean, all political ads, like, pretty much just cherry picking and not really based in...
I didn't like
actual
it.
fact.
I didn't like it.
Yeah, it's not nice, but that's how all political ads.
But they're
are.
everywhere. They're popping up like on like
Facebook a lot. That's where I see
Really?
them. Oh yeah, it's always
even
on my.
on my like whatever YouTube on like Fire Stick, everything. They're everywhere. Like whoever this.
I think I just tuned them out. I got a targeted.
I like
ad
these og,
for
and I get mad. With them.
high-heeled Crocs today, based on my
High-heeled Crocs.
high-heeled Crocs. So these ads they were really
That's a
rough.
thing.
Did
They're
you
really
did you
rough.
say croc in your kitchen at some
So
point?
you know
during the
what?
day?
My dad went on a hike in flip-flop Crocs, and
Right.
I said, "Are those Crocs about the flip-flops?"
Yeah.
And now I'm getting
Oh.
ads for high-heeled Crocs.
That happened-
They're like the wedge, like the cloggy Crocs with the high.
That happened to us at Bahama. Remember we mentioned something about the time we were
Are they a
done. They had
sponsor?
already.
That's yeah.
We shouldn't be talking about this.
Yeah. If Crocs,
Anyway, I'm just saying, these targeted ads are just too much. They're too much.
If Alex's Shoes in Nashville would like to become a sponsor, we're more than happy to talk about high-heeled Crocs. But in the meantime, again, election show, November 8th.
Bring us back. Bring it back.
November 8th, and we'll do a recap show in the morning. But tonight, let's talk a little bit about voting. That's kind of on our agenda for tonight. Two topics. One, a local nonprofit that is supposed to encourage people to vote and engage people, apparently is doing a little bit more. And then we're also going to talk about Lowell voting during the vocational school races and how that is going to be somewhat confusing for people on election day. And we're going to try to kind of spell out what is going to happen, what voters need to know when they go into the Mill City or in Dracut or Dunstable or Tingsboro, and how that race could confuse a number of people. So we'll try to set everybody straight on that. And Mikaela has admitted that she doesn't really know all that much about it
Yeah.
right now. So we're gonna see
Explain it to
if
me.
we're able to explain it to you, and
Yeah.
if it doesn't work for you, just imagine how many other people are going to be confused.
Well, I consider myself in the middle of, people understanding things. So, if I don't get it, there's still someone else that could get it.
A last ditch effort though is when you go to the polling location, you can always ask the folks at the polling location to clarify.
That's a good.
All right, because I think you can fill out a ballot maybe up to 3 times. As long as you don't feed it in, it doesn't count.
Well, you can do that. You can
void it, right?
Well, you can
That's
fill it out 3
valuable
times.
information.
You can fill it out 3 times and mail it in
No,
No, stop.
3 times.
but some people might
We're
think,
not
hey,
joking.
if
We're not joking about the validity of our election.
Jack is already catching heat for sitting at the same, broadcasting table with me.
That is
Don't
true.
push it. Grant, we got to ease him into it.
So if I mark something down and I say, oh, geez, I didn't mean to do that because I read something else or whatever, you can say, hey, I'm just kidding about this. Give me a new one.
Or if you have a question and you say, look, I think I filled this out wrong, you can go to someone to assist you. And if they say, yes, this is not what, if this is not what you meant to do, they can help you correct it and give you a fresh ballot. Then that ballot is voided, right? And then you get a new ballot.
I have a question.
Good to know.
Sure.
Good to know.
Let's say you're like, hey, I want to vote for this write-in dude, right? So could you do a label and put a label on there? Or does it have to be written in?
As far as I know, that's why they call them sticker
Right.
campaigns.
You could, if the candidates would be able to get them printed and distributed
Yeah.
in enough time. Now, that's
Yeah.
ideally how you write a write-in campaign.
Wait, like you could print out like Avery label paper.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just got to be the right font
Right.
But you wouldn't. So can you stand outside and?
within a certain number of feet. You could.
150 feet. You cannot be within 150 feet of the
With
whatever the point of entry is. Let's say
Okay.
there's what's called the electioneering zone, and with outside of that, that's when you see people
The
holding
signs.
signs and things like that.
But you could hand out stickers and say, hey, here's a sticker.
Yes, but you got to also know where to put the sticker in the right spot.
Now, isn't this the kind of information, how to properly write in a vote, what a sticker campaign is, etc.? Isn't this what an organization like Lowell Votes should be doing as we transition to our first topic. An organization whose mission it is to engage and inform voters. You've got a legitimate issue.
I mean, I think the city should do it.
You've got a legitimate issue over what people over people are concerned about, and Lowell Votes is too busy trying to get people to vote yes on question 1 because they're assuming that money's going to eventually come to them.
I don't like that framing.
Yeah, I don't like that.
You don't like that. They do a lot
how
to
would you frame it? When I look for, who's on the ballot, where are the polling locations and times, most of the time I go to the Lowell Votes website instead of, the city of Lowell or something like that. Like I do think it is the responsibility of the municipality to make sure that their residents are informed of where polling locations are and, that sort of thing. But that's where nonprofits can come in and give information.
It's on the website. If you go to the City of Lowell website,
not always. No.
I actually put a link to it a few days ago.
Okay.
I look in my Mill City
musings.
musings.
I was with you up to the point of what should Lowell Votes' priority be? Should they be informing voters on how to properly cast a ballot, which is going to be confusing, right? For people that aren't accustomed to write-in candidates, right? Especially write-in candidates where you can vote across a variety of towns, right? And we have Lowell residents running for elected office or former, people that are noteworthy in Lowell that are running for election in other municipalities that Lowellians can vote for. But if they write that candidate's name under the Lowell section, it's not going to count towards that candidate. So, but instead of,
we'll get back to that.
Yeah, but like the Lowell Votes, I agree with you. I think that's a better use of their time than advocating for a policy question.
Yeah, they shouldn't be advocating for policy questions.
They can
be aware.
Advocate for policy questions.
I don't think so. It's things. Well, unless if the policy question is allowing for, if it's around voting access, sure. But if it's about a yes or no on something that doesn't relate directly to voting, no, it's not your place.
I concur.
So for those wondering what we're talking about, over the last couple of weeks, a big hubbub has been stirred in the Mill City on social media and on talk radio. We can mention our friends at WCAP. Ryan Johnston has.
Let me interrupt you.
No, not that show. Ryan Johnston has been talking an awful lot about this, but this is something that Jack and I discussed a couple of weeks ago, and that is an organization whose stated, by the way, they are a 501c3, which means they have nonprofit status. Mm-hmm. It's an organization whose stated mission is to, again, inform voters and help, get turnout up. It is not to advocate for tax policy. It's not to advocate for any number of things that they are out there advocating. And in the last month, they have put on I don't want to call it a high pressure campaign because I'm not sure anybody really who's not inclined to agree with them is listening with them anyway.
264 people disagree.
Yeah, out of 120,000. Well, they must speak for the entire community, like all other nonprofits. But they've been sending emails to city councilors. I have seen said emails. They've been all over social media encouraging people to vote yes on question 1, and then when called on it publicly, they issued this kind of.
Well, what's question 1 for people that don't?
That's the millionaire tax or fair share amendment. Call it what you will.
Yep.
But when questioned about it, they issued a social media statement just a couple of days ago, Jack, where they didn't really kind of say anything other than, we're going to continue to, try to educate voters and this and that. The problem is they're educating them on only one side of that issue. And there are 2 legitimate sides to that issue. There is legitimate debate over whether that money is going to be really spent, how it is intended to be spent in the actual ballot initiative. There are ways to work around it. You're looking at me.
This is where I agree with you about how they might prioritize their time, right? Informing voters versus advocating for an outcome on a ballot question. But what you suggested, sort of like there's something in it for them in terms of a return for their effort. And so the ballot question 1 is money that is directed towards infrastructure and education. So you can try to argue that like government isn't inefficient and funds are fungible. Google check, right? Funds are fungible because the ballot question doesn't make the legislature create a budget for, say, transportation, right? And then add the millionaire tax money to it. So that means the legislature can say, hey, we've got $10 million sitting here from this fund.
Right.
So we're going to short this other budget $10 million and spread it someplace else.
Yes.
So you're just saying the same thing I said.
Well,
You're
that
shaking your head.
Yeah, that's-
you could make an argument though that part of Lowell Vote's mission is to sort of advocate for people that are underserved, right? Underrepresented, right? You could make that argument that anyone,
How do they determine that?
people that don't have money, resources to vote, don't vote. So they're trying to make, you don't have the day off of work, you have 3 kids at home, you don't have time to
Right,
get
but they might disagree with the millionaire tax.
I watched Afghanis and Iraqis in the early 2000s show up to vote at an 85-90% turnout. Talk about people who were underserved and poor. I mean, can we stop making excuses?
Where?
Can we stop making excuses
Where?
for people who don't want to vote? Yeah, in Afghanistan, in Iraq.
Okay.
Can we stop making excuses
have
for
anything to
people
say
who
about
don't want to vote?
No.
No, we can. You know what? Why don't we have? Well, I'm going to start a discussion. It's going to get off topic. But what I can say is that there is some gray area here. You can make the connection that underserved, underrepresented population will benefit from the Fair Share Amendment more so than people that
You
vote consistently.
okay. You can try to make that that claim. That is the theory,
will,
correct?
yeah.
Except states that have done something similar.
16 other states.
New York and Connecticut
16 other
have
states.
seen a flood of wealth leaving their states to the point where, correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew Cuomo, Democrat,
Do
right?
you have that data that
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can bring?
thank
Can
you.
you bring that data
I was
up
gonna
on the
ask you that.
website? Because like, if you're going to start
Google search this 100% because you like to talk in circles and data, and I give you the data and then you still don't
You
acknowledge
didn't
it.
give us the data.
The prison data you were talking about?
The groping governor of New York,
There we go.
Andrew Cuomo, was he not the groping governor of New York?
What does that have
why
to
he
do
had
with
to vote
millionaires
down?
leaving the state?
He begged millionaires to come back to his state. New York enacted millionaires taxes and increased taxes. And what happened is people of wealth, who you want to talk about underrepresented people,
Was it during COVID?
people
Was it
of
during
wealth,
COVID?
it was
Was it during COVID when
before
Florida
and
had no
after
rules?
COVID.
Did they move to Florida?
Sure.
Florida only had the
You've always got an excuse. That's right.
It's not an excuse. It's a fact.
And you've
How many
got
people
an
voted?
answer.
Andrew Cuomo and Connecticut have lost untold millions
Probably
of
to
dollars
Florida
of wealth
that had no COVID rules
to
and were able to
all
millionaires.
states. Florida, which does not have an income tax, in other words, doesn't have a millionaire's tax, has been the beneficiary
Excuse me,
of
Teddy.
that.
I just a simple thing. At 7 o'clock in the morning, you have to stand in the middle lane of Route 93. Do you pick the northbound lane or the southbound lane?
That's relevant. How?
Because all the traffic in the morning comes to Massachusetts. We aren't driving to New Hampshire.
Sure.
Now,
Great. That's where the jobs are.
why are the jobs here? Why are the jobs here?
You're comparing yourself to New Hampshire. Compare yourself to Florida. Compare yourself to North Carolina. Compare yourself to states where all of your income has left, and we've lost citizenship in Massachusetts, and that's why we are sitting here begging immigrants to come to keep our population numbers high. No less an authority than State Senator Barbara L'Italienne said so to me.
So we're begging
in an
for
interview.
immigrants to come in to replace the millionaires? Is that what we're doing?
We're begging for immigrants to come in because we're losing population, and we're hoping that we need to.
Are we losing population because all the billionaires and millionaires are leaving the state?
People of means are leaving your state. Factories have left your states. Look around the Mill City. Those factories that were here left. Why? Did they leave because we have more tax advantages here?
I'm not. We're off. First of all, we're off topic, right? Like we're talking about the millionaire question one. I'm voting in favor of question one, right?
Me too.
Flat tax is what we have in Massachusetts is the stuff that wackadoos like Rand Paul like to talk about. Flat tax is not the way to go. we should have, it's called progressive taxation.
Sure.
All that means is that the more income you make, the more you can afford to pay in taxes. And so since one of the best
more you do pay in
and one of the
taxes.
biggest boons in American history, and there's a lot of reasons for it, right? Including the post-war, but under President Eisenhower, the tax rates were astronomical for the people with the most wealth in the country. And that was one of our best times in the nation. Now, you can dissect that and try to say, it's for this reason and
Try
this
that
reason,
out.
right?
Who were you competing with
Where are they
under
gonna-
Under Eisenhower's presidency? Were you competing
No,
with,
I
with
understand.
Asia?
No.
Was Japan
That's
making
right.
cars?
I know what you're saying.
Okay.
Globalization, right? Globalization, there's
Everybody
a problem,
else was
right?
destroyed.
There's a
We have
problem
to
because
vacuum.
now American investors, if I've said this, if Mitt Romney has $1 and he needs to invest it, if he can put it in Akron, Ohio and get $1.12 back on in his return, right? But he can put it in Bangladesh and get $1.37, he's going to take his dollar and put it in Bangladesh because that's what capitalists do. They're not patriots, they're capitalists.
So you just made my point. The people of wealth will take their money out of Massachusetts when/if they can,
Maybe,
and
but
they
you're-
will put it somewhere
Do
else.
it. Okay, so if I'm a person that makes $2 million a year, okay, that's per year. That's not my wealth. That's how much I make in an income per year.
Theoretically.
Yeah, right. I don't. I wish. But
Buy us some microphones. for
right, I
Christ's sake.
know, right? And then and that's after whatever. And that's after I do my business deductions and all the business deductions that you do, whatever, right? I'm paying 4% just on the incremental above $1 million. So it's essentially just a 2% added tax. So I'm paying $40,000 on that above 1 million. So $40,000 on the
Wouldn't it be 4?
How much are you paying up to that million?
it's 4%. So it's 2% if you're making $2 million because you're only taxed 4% on the.
Oh, I got you.
The extra million.
The extra million. So if I'm a person that's making $2 million a year, I'm probably spending $40,000 on way stupider stuff.
That's your interpretation.
And it's my right.
of
And
it.
it's my right to do it. Is that $40,000 really going to
Yeah.
say, hey, Mikaela, get out of Massachusetts.
Mikaela,
They're screwing you out of $40,000.
The reason why none of us here are millionaires is because we don't know how to spend our money
Oh,
or
that's why.
save our
Okay.
money.
Well, let me just. can we
People
just-
who are millionaires do not spend money on things they don't have to. They spend things on. They spend
They
money
find
on
other
things
loopholes.
on
They find
things
other
they
loopholes.
want to. And again, just go online, folks. That's all I tell you. Andrew Cuomo, New York, Connecticut, millionaires flocking their state. Look at how much income they have lost. And that is money that, despite their millionaire taxes and their higher taxes, that's money that they don't have. So all these disadvantaged people who can't just pack up and sell their home, or the small mom and pop businesses who can't just pack up and sell and relocate to a state that has a better tax situation for them, they're stuck. The millionaires, the billionaires, they're gone.
It's interesting because you paint a pretty clear, right, well articulated position, but
Thank you.
I
I take
don't
that as a
believe
compliment.
a single word of it.
Don't- you-
I think you are full of crap.
But let me bring back to this though. So we're talking about when you talk about.
So you don't believe fact. You're a denier. You're a denier of facts. Is that what you're talking
don't
about?
go there. Don't go.
I know. I want say it.
So,
I
all
wanted
right.
to say
Denier
that.
of fact.
So what I'm saying is, so Lowell votes, right?
Yeah.
And what Mikaela was saying is that question 1? Yeah.
Question one, yeah.
Question 1 is in the best interest of the people that they're trying to get to go and vote.
That's what they're saying.
And I'm arguing that it's not, and they're not presenting both sides of that, which
So-
is what their mission is.
I view that as there were a bunch of people back in the day that used to go into like the jungle and whatever and tell people that the best thing for them was like this religion or that religion. It's kind of a missionary idea where
Proselytizing.
yes, you're telling poor people, you're saying, well, you're underrepresented. This is what's good for you. So we're going to tell you to do this, this, and this. It's not their place. They should, like, for all we know, all these underrepresented people, maybe they think the millionaire tax is a great idea. Maybe they think it's terrible.
If I'm
Do not.
poor, I don't think a millionaire tax that's going to.
But if you're trying to get them to the poll though, don't tell them how to vote. Quit telling poor people what to think and what to vote. Let them make up their own mind. And that's my problem is that if they're...
And that's not the only thing they've been advocating for through the years.
Right.
Let's not kid ourselves. They were very active in the Lowell City Council elections. They put out questionnaires, which if you look at them, look like a Marxist manifesto. And the questions that they send to the candidates are designed in such a way that is going to highlight the strengths of left-leaning candidates and work against right-leaning candidates in municipal elections. And then some of the candidates, I'm like, I'm not answering this crap.
Did the candidates have any problems?
So yes, a significant number of candidates refused to return information
No,
from.
a significant amount of candidates answered their questions. I read the brochures.
Yeah, didn't they answer?
Not all of them.
Okay, all of them came on my radio show.
Weren't they direct quotes?
Because I'm given equal opportunity to everybody. I'm not asking loaded questions.
But that's valuable information. The way that they put
You say that with a straight
Well,
face.
hey, listen, they all came to mind. Every single candidate that was on that Lowell ballot,
Yeah.
and that was 3 of them?
And did you put something together? Did you
yes.
put something together?
Yeah.
A piece of paper, a
No,
pamphlet or
I
whatever?
put a debate together. I put debates together for everybody.
That's not as user friendly as what Lowell Votes provided, which was these are the candidates. This is where they stand on these issues.
It's not user friendly when you ask a question that's the equivalent of when did you stop beating your wife, candidate XYZ.
I would like to know that about any candidate. If any candidate beat their wife, I would like to know that, and please include that. Or husband.
Don't go down that road.
Again, if my beef is these are political action committees masquerading as nonprofits designed to help disadvantaged people, and they're not helping disadvantaged people, they're helping themselves to some very hefty salaries. And Lowell Votes is the one in the fire now, but they are not alone. And we saw it all play out in the last couple of years. All these organizations are glorified political action committees, and they haven't. None of them has solved the problem that their mission says they're going to solve. Have any of them made it better?
They made it better for me. I for one became informed from their information that they put out there.
Yeah, but you're going to vote anyway, so.
Well, maybe I wouldn't feel as strongly, or maybe I wouldn't have, said to a friend, "This is how I'm going to vote."
There's a couple of points of clarity here. One is the Lowell Votes is not a standalone in all of this. They've aggregated with a group of not-for-profits,
That's
right?
true. Yeah.
So there's a consortium that they're calling themselves, and so they came together and then, as an aggregate, made a decision to do this. So to be completely fair to Lowell Votes, but would they have done it standalone? We could speculate that they would have.
Did they rank choice their policies?
Did they rank choice?
No, rank choice vote to
Rank
figure out what
choice.
their
I don't know how they-
policies were.
They took the 262
But, like-
community respondents and ranked choice.
You like to go off on the not-for-profits, and it's been said to me, and I don't check it, but CBA pays more taxes than the guy that owns, say, Wanna-Lancet and the various properties but that guy doesn't get run roughshod over, especially your lips don't ever.
Is he on the city council floor every week telling the council?
No, he probably does it. He probably does it from the golf course.
Yes, thank
Okay.
you. Yeah.
He probably does it from the golf
good.
course.
Wait. So
Do these nonprofits reject his money when they all invite him to their big galas and fundraisers?
I don't
I've
know.
yet to meet the nonprofit that said no to a donation check, of which how much of it goes to
So
administrative.
I want to bring. This is a good point that you bring up. One of the criticisms of Lowell Votes is that they were somewhat forced to pivot from their. You're kind of standing with the work that they did before, right? Saying that they had a less than subtle agenda, but they ended up. It used to be a volunteer organization, but then there became a time when they started to seek sort of funds through grants and whatnot. And sometimes when you go after grants, you have to deliver services or fulfill the vision of the grant writer. Mm-hmm. And that can skew things. Now, it probably would be in Lowell Votes' best interest to disengage from their consortium, right, and seek their own funding. If Nancy Donahue can run $3 million for ballerinas at the Merrimack Repertory Theater, If she had,
Are you mocking the arts?
no, I love the arts. I mean, I'm not much for the ballerina thing, but
It's-
like
it's-
rock and roll is cool.
It's 2.964 after the tax.
But you know, I think if like the Lowell elite, right, were to come together and put $100,000 in front of Lowell votes and say, just do you, the best you can be, then they wouldn't need to be, you know. And a lot of the elites do talk about voter engagement. They talk like they want to support this sort of effort.
As long as they vote
But
their
they're
way.
not writing the checks, which forces the development people at Lowell Votes to go seek funding, right? And I can tell you, as someone that's volunteered back in the Move Lowell Forward days, right? It's hard to get volunteers to go out and knock doors. I mean, when we did questionnaires with candidates, it took a couple of weeks for us to develop questions, get the candidates questions out to candidates, get the responses back from the candidates, come up with a fair way
That's work.
to sort of decipher like how to rank the answers to the questions. It was a lot of work for volunteers to do. And so I think it's proper to pay the folks that work in Lowell Votes so that they can stay focused and committed to the mission. But it would be better, in my opinion, if the big money Lowell would put their big money behind their big mouths, because they push this sort of stuff.
Big Money Lowell is smart enough to know what they have been doing, and that is advocating for political positions and not necessarily working just on getting turnout up.
You can make that accusation. Like I've done this work before. Of the two of us, I've done this work.
And who's doing a better job
Right.
than Lowell Votes of disseminating this information that Lowell voters need? Who's doing a better job? Is anyone doing that job? Is anyone else doing that job?
Well, the newspaper does, the radio station does, Inside Lowell now does.
Can I go to lowellsun.com right now on my phone?
It's a paywall.
Oh, that's right. There's a paywall, right?
Not on
So is that-
InsideLowell.com, by the way.
does
100%
Inside-
free.
does
Wait,
Lowell have anything
go to Boston Herald. You
about-
might be able to get through the paywall.
All right. So
Or the Pittsburgh Gazette.
there's my point.
Or the Denver
There's my
Star, I don't
Who's
know.
doing a better job making this information accessible?
Well, I think we can all agree that we want more people to vote, but
The information is we're overloaded with information and ways to get it. There used to be TV
I
and
promise you,
radio
we are not.
and newspapers. Now you have the internet and social media. If people can go to BravoCon conferences, if people can Snapchat and do TikTok videos, I promise you they can get voting
That's
information
entertainment.
if they
That's
want.
entertainment.
Well,
We are not short on entertainment or distraction.
right.
We are short on voter.
No, you're short on
Literacy.
people who care enough to
there is-
become literate.
Stop.
If you
That's
care
not
enough
true.
to become literate,
I think that's
you
a big
will
issue.
become literate.
It's also a
And
privilege.
you're making excuses.
It's a privilege to care. You
You're-
have to have enough time.
It's not true.
Oh.
It's not true. No, she's not. It's stated kind of clumsy, but it's
Thank
it's
you.
correct.
I
It's
agree.
correct. All right.
Tall women
I'm
tend to be
trying
very
my
clumsy,
Wow,
just
it's
like
stated.
tall men.
No, he's right. I'm trying.
Just this.
she's just 5 foot.
Jack, don't help her anymore.
This
She's
data-
just 5 foot,
this data's a little bit old, right? So, like, let's say it's 2015, 2017 data, but at the time there was something like 60,000, 55,000 registered voters in the city of Lowell. Of them, less than 20,000 had to cast at least one ballot in a city election. Your high propensity voters in the city elections are about 7,000 to 8,000 residents that
The people
vote.
who care.
No, that's bogus. That's a bogus talking point.
Absolutely.
It's 100%.
No, it's not. It's
100%.
no. It's the people that can figure out how to tell the difference between Pepsi and Coke and ours, because all the councilors in the at-large system all tried to blend in so that they looked like those bricks behind you, so you couldn't tell the difference between any of them.
Did they have an Inside Lowell logo?
All right. No, they did not. Now, of 20,000 people, there were 8,000 people that were really the hard-hitting, high-propensity city voters.
In city elections. How many are there in a presidential election?
40,000.
Okay, so 40,000 people can find out how to register to vote. 40,000 people can find out where to vote, And 40,000 people can actually get there and vote if it's Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, or whoever. But they can't find out how to vote
In part-
when Rita Mercier or Vesna Noon.
You're right. I understand, right?
How's that not apathy?
And I used to get into sort of arguments with folks that are low vote types of people where they were like, let's register the people to vote. And I'm like, no, let's go after people that vote in presidential elections and state elections, but don't vote because they've already popped their cherry in terms of voting.
But how much?
All right.
That actually makes
no, it is.
that actually makes a lot of sense.
But how much information is there out there about presidential elections? You can Google anything. You can go. It is in your face.
Yeah,
it is force fed to you. How much information is there about state and local elections out there? Unless you go looking for it.
Again,
right?
If you can go looking for it in presidential elections. If you can't
You're
get
force-fed
motivated enough to go study your school committee, which educates every single kid basically in the city who isn't in a private school, if you can't get motivated by that, whose fault is that? Whose fault is that?
Life circumstances.
It's just not.
I don't know. I think there
Because
is.
this is where
Civic
privilege
disengagement.
allowed
Thank
privilege. So we did the study.
Voting.
We did the study
It
in
is.
2010
Voting
with
is
Salem State,
privilege.
right? No, people with more
Caring is privilege.
disposable income,
Resources.
people with more
Connections, resources.
with more education,
Education.
right? They are higher. Who are the higher propensity voters? The people that live in Belvedere, the people that live in Pawtucketville, the people that live in Christian Hill, right? The people that
Listen to
He's
this.
still bitter about that.
No, that's bogus. You're Centerville, bitches. All right.
What do you know? You don't even live in Bradford.
He lived on Colbert Street.
I've got chalk lines out in front of my house.
Did you notice all the lower Centerville people got upset about you saying that?
Yeah, because they're all envious.
First of all, we call them Christian hillbillies. Thank you very much.
You know,
Call us whatever we want.
it's a
We just let you up.
self-fulfilling prophecy though. Like the more people I think you kind of bring into the fold for caring about politics because you are a city that cares about all of your residents, not just the ones that vote, the more people you're going to have that will feed into the local politics and will have their voices heard and will actually care.
So you mentioned the efforts, right? Have these efforts not been going on to target those presidential voters and get them to show up? Have they not been? Have you not engaged in these efforts? Have others not?
I personally quit trying to do nonpartisan voter engagement, and
Why?
I switched it because
Because it
people.
doesn't work.
No, you know where we got a big uptick in voters? One was the fair vote effort in 2009 when we were talking about proportional representation. And then the next one was Lowell High School. People have to have kind of an emotional dog in the fight. So, you know, Jack Mitchell do-gooder knocking on your door saying, hey, don't you want to vote and be a good citizen? And they're like, click. But when I go there and I say, hey, do you like the Boston Red Sox over the New York Yankees? They're like, yes, because it's something that they can kind of identify with. Lowell High
Because they
School.
care.
No, but there's an emotional impact. It gets gristy, right, and gritty. So I find that there's better chances of instigating voter engagement by using candidates. Partisanship drives people to the polls.
Connection.
The high school issue drove people to the polls. The fair vote people drove people to the polls. Just saying, hey.
Well, the high school thing didn't really drive people to the polls in Pawtucketville.
What did we get the high school?
I mean-
Less than 14,000 votes. Again, it's not 40,000.
No.
Yeah, people are interested in national politics. People are also these low information voters, these poor, disadvantaged people. They're smarter. A lot of folks don't like to give them credit. We treat them like they're stupid, and all these white knights.
You're forgetting-
the emphasis on the white have to ride in and help these people understand that these issues are important.
No, it's
to them.
called giving information in an easily digestible way.
You're also forgetting one very important thing. Political parties. Local elections are nonpartisan.
As they should remain.
There is a ton of people that vote Democrat or Republican. All right. So one of the things that low information voters can do is they can just be like, I'm voting for the Republican. These Diane DeZoglio ads, right, on Facebook I see. I read the comments. and there's, nitwits that are like, vote red up and down the ballot. Like, they don't know anything
It's an
about
easy
any of the
decision.
kids. They're
It's
just
an
like,
easy
vote
decision.
red.
Yeah.
Because there's no nitwits that just vote Democrat, right?
Did you feel compelled to say that?
Yeah, well, because you keep pointing it out. Like, your problem is
Your whataboutism is staggering.
The problem with government in Jack Mitchell's fairy tale land is that one party's bad, Republicans
No,
bad,
no, we can say the
Democrats.
same thing.
You yourself have told me how many people voted for Ed Kennedy for senator because he thought he was
He
a
knew that was
Kennedy.
coming.
That's
Well,
true.
were those Republicans who did that, Jack?
No.
Okay, thank you.
That's the type of identity, right? So people vote Democrat, people vote Republican, and
It's an easier decision.
right. So like then it's like, okay, we take that brick wall behind you and we say, okay, all these bricks are red and all these bricks are blue. Now they can tell the difference, even though.
You're so
but
right
what
about
we
that.
do is we wash the wall so that they're all that color and we can't tell.
But it
So
can-
no one knows. People don't know the difference between Kevin Broderick and
And then you feel
League of Mercy,
overwhelmed.
all
You
right?
feel
The people
overwhelmed.
who care know the difference between Kevin
people who
Broderick and
care.
Bill
It
Maher.
takes
They know
work.
the difference between Rodney Elliott
It takes work.
and
Okay,
Fesna
okay.
Noon. People know the
I'm a
difference.
Greek,
who care
I'm a
to
Greek
know the
immigrant.
difference.
I just got here. I'm a Greek immigrant. I just got here a year ago, right? Okay. I have 3 kids. I'm busy taking care of my kids. I'm taking night classes at night. Do you think I'm working full time during the day? Whatever it is, okay? I just got to Lowell. I want to embrace the city. It takes work to study the candidates. And
What was that word? It takes work.
It takes work and time. And
So
time.
people,
free time.
Free time.
Yeah. Free
Spare time. Leisure time.
so,
When I
so
never
we
left-
just started
No.
having immigrants in
When I-
Lowell. We've never had immigrants before. At the time when
When did I say that?
how many
When did I
people
say
used to show up in municipal elections?
It was like
Tens of
60%.
thousands.
But there
Yeah.
were more connect. There,
Yeah.
I'm saying I think that in years past, decades past, there was more connections with Greek immigrants in the acre. They could talk amongst themselves and spread.
And how the
And there
different
was
today's immigrant group.
and there was
we
a
are
lot
more
more.
segregated as a society in our little cocoons, watching our Bravo and our internet.
But whose fault is that, though? I mean, at what point does society say, you guys got to participate or not? Like, there's not much more we can do. If you, like, join or not join, like,
But how do I join? How do I find?
just
the-
go online.
You go
I
to
vote-
Lowell Votes. You go to Lowell Votes.
Well, it'd be
Period.
not. Well, let me get back to one thing
Period.
you said, though.
You go online. That's what Lowell Votes is providing.
You
don't ask your friends. You don't do what people used to do. You go online, and that's
you-
what they're providing.
but you had a-
resource, an online resource.
But you said
That's all we
something.
need.
You said something
We
earlier,
got the
though.
hype and fired up today.
But you said something earlier. You're like, why doesn't? I think you
Hot
said,
here.
why doesn't the election commission or whatever do some of this work?
Yeah, I agree.
Is that allowed? I mean, could you do that? Like, why couldn't the?
They
you know.
do.
All right, I'm gonna Google right now. City
They
of Lowell.
do.
City of Lowell ballot.
Go to InsideLowell.com.
No. City of Lowell.
Mill City Musings, Teddy Panos, October 30th, and you will see the link there that takes you right to every polling
But if
location.
I
But imagine if it was like a Lowell Votes and or like the what's the bizarro Lowell Votes, the right Lowell vote, the right Lowell people vote, and you recruit
There
like,
isn't.
all the.
Because the righties just show up and vote.
Well, I'm just by right. I mean,
they
like,
All 5 of them.
I don't mean the right. I mean like what if there's like some weirdo like white loving crack of people trying to get all
The
the.
woman that went to City Hall the other
Yeah,
day?
what if she started a voter drive, right, to get all the crap? Like, I shouldn't call it crap.
People would lose their minds. If,
Like, and then she was like, yeah.
Are you
we'd
say,
all
you
be
can
moved
you
to
can
tears.
call John Birchism, right? Crap. Like people that talk about replacement theory that we're bringing in immigrants to replace
Well,
the white folks.
I'm just saying,
you
like,
can call that crap.
I mean,
batch.
so just to let you
it's,
know.
But I'm saying if you-
Jack Mitchell, that's Barbara L'Italienne, state senator who was running for Congress at the time, who said it to me outright. And she said the quiet part out loud on a radio interview in morning drive time. We are losing residents.
All right, can I?
And that was, and she said it as part of a discussion where if she was elected to Congress, she would work with Trump on immigration so that we could keep bringing immigrants in legally because we need them in Massachusetts because we are losing residents. That is from Senator Barbara L'Italienne, Democrat out of Andover. I
Whatever.
believe
They're
is her
aging
hometown.
out and moving to apparently where is Tampa Bay area, Where does everybody go down there? Bradenton.
the-
Oh,
Bradenton,
yeah.
right? Like how
The
many
villages?
Lowellians go to Bradenton?
Okay, I just want to tell you, update on my Google searching results. Election results, election timetable, election calendar, everything's from 2021 or before. Election and census, early voting, ballot information. None of it. This is my Google. This is me, a capable Googler, Googling, and nothing is from 2022. Not one thing.
By the way, speaking since we've gone to Google, headline reads, Connecticut lost 1.1 billion in wealth to other states in 2018. And it talked about the years leading up to 2018.
1.1 billion in wealth.
No COVID.
That's one person's balance sheet. How are they calculating wealth?
So you refuse to acknowledge the point that Connecticut has
I
lost
have
the
no
wealth.
context for
Yeah,
that.
no,
data point.
that's true because it's interesting. I remember when Trump was running for president, he was saying that you couldn't look at the unemployment rate because it wasn't a real statistic. And then when he became president, he started flouting his unemployment rate. So the thing that he was shitting on basically through his candidacy, he then turned into a real thing and said that it was worthwhile to pay attention to. So like if you want to bring up a story, and I don't know, right? But she's not wrong to question what's the context of that, because I can
That's not that much money.
I can just pull statistics to prove a thing.
Okay, so one person left in 1 year,
What's
and
that,
then one other person left in
$1.something billion? That's not a lot of money.
one other person. It's not a lot of money.
$1.something billion.
How much is the Fair Share Amendment going to raise?
$2 million annually.
$2 million. Wait,
Whoa,
it's
sorry.
gonna
$2 billion. $2
Okay,
billion.
so
Sorry.
you lose 1.1 billion of that in a state that's much smaller than Massachusetts. It stands to reason you'll lose more out of Massachusetts, and you're trying to tell me that's not a big deal?
All right,
Wait,
all right.
what is that? What is that?
Where are we at for time? Because we were talking about.
Yeah, we got to move it along.
Yeah, you glossed over my Googling. You
Low
glossed over my
votes.
Googling.
Actually,
They wrong to do
I get
what
the
they,
same
what
results
they were
there, right?
doing
You got the same
lobbying
results.
city councilors.
That's
I think it was a strategic
Yeah, you did.
mistake on their part.
So you agree with me, Mikaela?
I'm sorry,
Low
what was the
votes.
question is?
Should they have been advocating a political position on a ballot question?
You can as a 501c3, you can absolutely advocate for policy.
You can.
It's
I
a
don't think they
loophole.
should have.
It's
I
a
think there's
loophole
a
that the
gray area.
IRS needs to close.
I think there's a gray area on how it's connected. I really do think that there's a connection there.
Batch.
I've completely flipped. The more I think about it, the more just forget trying to be in the middle and just go crazy. The more you're like, we're just going to vote for this, this, and this, and this, and just be like, middle fingers up to everybody. That's the way to do it. That's the only way to get people motivated.
All right. Speaking of Lowell votes, Lowell is voting, actually voting pretty much as we speak every day leading up to November 8th. Well, up until Saturday, November 4th.
I've been voting every day.
Early enough.
Go to the Secretary of the Commonwealth's website to clarify this information.
Mail-in voting. As of Sunday night, when I spoke with Elections Director Greg Pappas, over 8,000 early ballots had come in. Almost above 95% of them were mail, as opposed to people showing up at the senior center and casting ballots.
That's just from Belvedere.
Election days.
That's good.
They have their butlers deliver.
Yeah.
We don't bring them in from New Hampshire.
Election day is November 8th.
We're all postback from Seabrook.
One of the things those who voted early have
That's how you know.
already seen.
Wait, one more joke. That's how you know. That's how you know the teachers voted. They're all from Seabrook.
Postmark, yeah. The vocational school race that we talked about a little bit earlier. 5 write-in candidates spread across 3 towns. Now, in one of them, Steve Knockout out of Tingsboro isn't facing any opposition. But in Dunstable, former Lowell Police Chief Kelly Richardson and the incumbent Kempton Giggy are both running write-in campaigns for that one seat. No names appear on the
Wait,
ballot.
Dunstable's part of the Voke?
Dunstable, Tingsboro, Dracut, and Lowell. In Lowell, you have Fred Bahu, who went out and grabbed signatures. His name will appear on the ballot. And then there are 2 candidates mounting active write-in / sticker campaigns, Anthony Millisey and Ralph Hogan. Theoretically, both of them, if they get enough votes, could push out Fred Bahu, although, I don't think anybody, given that you got to do the write-in component. There's a lot of talk about how this works, and technically, should I let you, Jack, kind of fill folks in on how you are supposed to cast a proper write-in vote.
Well, wait, we got to back up further. Like, how do
who votes?
Everybody. So
Everybody.
one of the changes this year is the Dunstable candidates will also appear, if they were on the ballot, they would appear on the Lowell ballot, which means the 120,000 people in Lowell, plus the Drake people and the Tingsboro people can also vote for the Dunstable vocational seat.
So I'm from Lowell.
Yes.
And I can vote for
You-
any one person.
You will see a slot for Drake, for Dunstable, for Tingsboro, and for Lowell in the.
so she
Lowell
gets to
vote
choose
school
who
committee.
votes for Drake?
She gets to choose.
I mean, who
the
represents
candidates.
Drake?
Yep.
Yes,
That is stupid.
I agree.
I think it should just be one person on the Lowell ballot that's from Lowell.
No, most of the kids are from Lowell.
Wait, so you're saying that Lowell people should be able to vote for anyone?
No. I'm saying like if there's like there should be more candidates,
For Lowell.
right? Because
No,
more
no,
kids
no.
from Lowell.
Well, sorry, I meant
Lowell
one
has more
section
seats
for the
on the-
seat.
You're saying you should only be able to vote for Lowell people?
Lowell.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Lowell.
Well,
Lowell
why
has
did we
more
run Brady?
seats.
Brady would have won this.
Lowell
What were we
should- yeah,
thinking?
Lowell-
Brady
Well,
McCarran when you need
he
it.
actually,
No, yeah.
so Brady actually works against my theory. I do not like the idea of expatriates living in other towns and being elected by Lowellians, right?
I totally
But
would have done
Brady
that. Wrong.
actually
Yeah, just-
was, I mean, he's literally like just over the line.
He would have been
Right.
great.
Okay.
He would have been
Lowell-
great.
He actually stood in that election, and Lowellians didn't carry him across the line. Draketeer
Right.
beat him, right? But at the time when this was sort
It
of
was a
all
different system,
developing,
right?
there were a bunch of Lowellians that were living in other towns, right? And I've met Kelly briefly, right? Seems like a great guy. I don't have a beef with him, right? But I don't think it's fair
Yes.
for Dunstable to have Lowellians pick. You know,
No,
I
it's-
don't- did Kelly always live, or is he from
You want
Lowell, or is he
representation in
from
this-
Dunstable? Did he grow up in Dunstable?
I don't know. I don't believe so. Although I could be wrong. I don't know his
He's not a
background.
blow.
The Richardson family is locals, Lowell.
Right.
Wouldn't that be like me voting for like? Wait, does anybody else vote for anybody? Like voting for like the?
It'd be like you being able to vote in Seth Moulton's congressional race.
Yeah, that's
or in
silly.
Presley's. It's silly. How did we get to that point?
Wait,
when the big point that Senator Kennedy was really trying to push, and look, many before him, but it wasn't until Ed Kennedy got elected to the state senate that this really kind of came forward. Was the point was Lowell should have more representation on that school committee because it has a much larger
More seats.
population and it has a much larger
What is it?
percentage of the students.
Yes.
Therefore, they should have more seats.
What does he
Which
think?
makes sense. How did we get from that to all of who's in Lowell now? Actually, Michaela's the only one. You're a no
No,
guy.
Chuck.
Everyone
I'm a
here's
Jumper
not-
guy, and Jack's a Haverhill guy. But
Oh, yeah.
you're the only one who's going to get to vote in that race. But you're going to get to help decide the Drake representative,
We
the
aren't even
Dunstable,
drinking, don't you get
the
to
Lowell,
say?
and the Tingsboro. No, I'm in Chelmsford.
I have
You're
two.
in Chelmsford.
just-
Where's your domicile?
My dog.
By the way, that's two quick comments. Dominic Lay loves the system. And then I didn't realize that the Voke. So Ed Kennedy's behind this whole thing.
No, this has been a movement for a while, but it was really Ed Kennedy. He started pushing it, I believe, as city councilor and mayor.
Did he think
And
that
then
they were?
really kind of continued.
Did he think
when
they're
got
going
to
to?
the Senate.
Did he think they were going to expand the Voke out to Collie?
It's the obligatory badge and Kennedy shot there. Patty, that's badge. I can't control what he says.
So more representation is not Lowell gets to vote for everyone. It's Lowell has more seats and representation on the.
That's how I thought it was going to be. That's what I thought the crux of the movement.
Yeah,
would be.
which
How did
makes
we end up
sense.
here.
I think you would have to have created a much larger board to try to get more seats to balance it out.
Yeah.
So the way they decided to fix it was this cockamamie thing. Like I don't agree with it.
Well, we weren't paying them anyway, so why not create more? So who cares?
But isn't
It
this?
wasn't costing anybody.
But if you're-
that's all. That's an interesting. I didn't know at the time that we weren't paying those folks out there. So sure, like New Hampshire's got like what 15,000 state reps.
Yeah, they make about $2,000 a year. Oh,
It's very.
No.
It's very important, though. It's very important.
$100 a year, New Hampshire.
is that the number?
And they get a parking. They get a license plate that says they're a state rep.
So they don't get any parking tickets.
See, here's another example of
And they can drive like 90 miles per hour. 90.
here's another example of something I can't find online. I can't find how many seats are occupied.
Well-
right? So this is what I want to do for Inside, as part of Inside Lowell. I want to have a section where we post all the listening sessions for things that Lowell and surrounding areas are interested in. Information like how many seats, just like stuff you
Well,
Google.
why don't you make that your next column?
I think I don't think it.
Mikaela votes.
I think it should be.
Most people can get you some grants. Next thing you know, we'll probably get you a six-figure
I think
salary.
it should be a section.
Oh, there you go.
I think it should be a section.
And then you can buy us some microphones.
Yeah, then we can get some studio
some lights.
Hey,
You
by
gotta-
the way, you guys haven't even commented on the nice little stickers.
I did.
Oh, the logos are good.
Oh, nice.
These are sharp, you know.
I like them.
Nice.
Did it-
Is
wait.
that a write-off? Is that
That-
going to decrease your $1 million a
Wait,
year?
so
The frame is much better right there.
Yeah, much better.
Right.
Once we actually get someone who knows what they're doing with setting up cameras, we'll be in really good shape.
let me ask you
that looks
something.
great.
I always thought write-in candidates for those people that like were late. So all these guys late, like nobody got in on time to be on the ballot.
You know, that's a good question.
Yeah, they
didn't
for,
collect
for
signatures?
whatever reason, nobody
Yeah.
went to collect
collect
signatures.
signatures?
Freddie Bahu did. I think Matt Sheehan did in Drake but nobody else did, including in Dunstable, the incumbent.
Oh yeah.
Kempton Giggy, who has served, he didn't go gather signatures.
Did he just
That-
think he wouldn't be?
He's not related to
I don't know. I think he.
Oh, but then he wouldn't have even.
I haven't spoken to him. My hunch is he probably figured he was all done and somebody else would do it, and then he saw nobody's on
Yeah.
the ballot, so he threw his name in. But
Don't vote for any of the write-ins. Just vote for the people that got out there and did the right thing.
unfortunately for him, Kelly Richardson, and this isn't political commentary, but he
Mine
now
was.
is running in Dunstable. That's his base. I don't think anybody in Lowell knows Kempton Giggy, except for those of us listening now.
He's not related to Giggy, is he?
Not Rob Gignac. Giggy.
all
They're
right.
different. His real name is Giggy.
That's
It's not
good.
Okay.
Kempton
That's
Giggy.
good. Smiles.
I saw him on a billboard with a suit. I thought it
But
was.
here's Kelly Richardson, who got all this, dare I call it, free publicity as the chief of police
Yeah.
in Lowell. He has
It's a familiar
name recognition,
name.
which is
Yeah.
incredible. Politicians work their tail off for name recognition. Kelly Richardson has it, and he's running against somebody who's in a community of what, 13,000 residents?
So they're Dunstable.
No, it was 30,000. Wasn't it 32? Was it?
Oh no, that was
Dunstable?
That was
I don't
great.
know.
And all 8,000 Belvedere voters can just vote for the Dunstable.
Yeah.
That's
I
kind of
don't-
wrong.
No, I don't agree with it. And it was interesting because when the vote came through and they started asking for a stipend, right? There was two things that I thought were noteworthy. One was they didn't ask for $4,999.99, which would have kept them off the retirement system, right? But they also, like, I'm not sure if in the towns, their school committees are actually part of the retirement system or get paid a stipend.
Oh, that's very.
So if you,
Dunstable,
somebody needs
Massachusetts population is 3,404 people.
somebody needs, this is a Google check type of thing.
my God.
but, like,
No.
I'm
I could
under
look
the
it up without
impression
voting
that the Drake School
Yeah.
Committee does not get paid. So why would the town of Drake vote to pay Greater Lowell Technical High School representatives a stipend when they don't even pay their full school committee
So-
folks?
They shot it down. They
All
didn't
right.
vote it,
Oh, they
right?
didn't? I don't know what the outcome was.
They
But these
shot it. I thought they shot it down. Yeah.
I thought they did.
These
or
towns-
they're about to, if they haven't already.
Right, and we have to. The outcome has to be that the majority of the towns support it, right? And so when they were also saying at the city council meeting that that's why we have this screw up with people not running because they don't get paid, so they don't have the motivation to run. I mean, there's a lot of people that run for elections that
They ran all these years.
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
Something
yeah.
became a problem in 2022.
right, but I think they don't run because of this cockamamie scenario that we've set up. Now let's translate into the ballot what happens onto the ballot. I liked your point about why didn't Lowell votes focus on that?
That's two of them, by the way, tonight
Right.
that you liked.
No, and you know what?
You're really gonna get in
first of
trouble
all,
with your
screw
lefty
you with
friends.
your
They're gonna kick you out
See
of
how you
solidarity.
All
No.
right, enough.
he likes to talk about how I moved to his position, right? And he never, you've got this Leonidas complex, take from them everything and give them nothing, like whatever, like you're not Leonidas. You
Then we will
sometimes,
fight in the dark.
Hey, you know what the most powerful thing a blade of grass can do? The most powerful thing. It bends.
oh jeez,
Wow.
the
Kumbaya.
yeah, Lao Tzu over here. All right, but
When you going to tell people how to actually
very nice
vote for
dress
these
up.
votes.
When you said that, it made me think of when we were doing the district representation, the change in the charter. There were tons and tons of videos on how to do proportional representation. Is there one video that's going to get us through how to vote for this vote race? Not one video.
We need to bring back the giraffes and the elephants.
There's not one.
Right, like how are we going to know who's running? Like, because they're not even on the ballot. Like they can't.
Oh, we need to inform the voters of this. Again, something that could have been very valuable for Lowell voters to do.
So now they're valuable. So now you want
No,
but they decided
it's valuable for them to do that, but they're more interested in getting millionaires to supposedly put more money into the tax base, which then I'm sure they envision coming back to them and their pet causes in some way.
And by the way, how ironic is it that like there's not like this whole Voke school committee thing has been a little messed out, right? I would kill for that Voke school committee to take over the Lowell Public Schools, which are a complete shit show. I'm going to say it, sorry.
Well, vocational schools are going to become a lot more important in the next.
But they've been like what they've done in the last 20, 25 years has been amazing.
Oh yeah. No,
if you watch the history of what that Voke School Board has done, like they've had to run through some pretty rough times, and they've done a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
All
right, look.
Oh, yeah.
So my oldest, both my daughters went to St. John d'Arc, right? Mm-hmm. And we were a struggling family, but we put the money aside because we wanted to invest in our kids' education. Say whatever you want about not believing in public education, but both our kids went to Lowell High School. Mm-hmm. Lowell High School is a great school to go.
Yeah, it really was.
Right, so like your shit show
Back
thing,
in the
like
day.
all right, my oldest is 25, so that was 7 years ago. I don't necessarily buy into it's a shit show.
Tristan is 25?
Tristan is 25.
Damn, did I get old?
Yeah.
Wow.
She's almost as old as your wife.
That's how I know.
That's strange. Wow.
I was literally
That's
going to
funny.
say, don't say it.
That's funny.
But anyways, no videos, no guidance on how to fill out this ballot. Now, the way I understand it, and you definitely, if you have any questions, any kind of confusion about the ballot at the time, just talk to somebody at the polling location when you go to fill it out. That's really the best information that you can get. Right?
Are they allowed to give you the names of people who are mounting?
Yeah, I don't think they are.
Because this is one of the issues. If you're confused, you don't know, like, why am I doing this? They can't tell you. You have to write in names. Can they tell you the two names?
All right, so I don't know the answer to that.
Let's check Lowell votes.
When I talk to,
How do you knock it and then you're like, let's check Lowell votes? It's like, yeah, because there's no one else that's giving out this information, is there?
But they didn't bother.
Sounds like a public need that a nonprofit.
All that energy wasted on getting people to vote for the millionaire tax or
You know what,
fair
there's
share,
enough
man, it could have been
energy to go
spent on this.
But they didn't spend any energy on this.
I don't know, because like, say they give the names, and okay, so you and I are having a conversation. You're like, hey, Kelly Richardson, is he on the ballot? And I can say yes, and I say, well, what town did he? And you get into a conversation about details about Kelly, like how far can an election person go down that road,
Because he's
right?
technically not on the ballot.
Well, so he has submitted his name to all the different towns' elections officials saying that he is mounting a write-in campaign, as has Anthony Maselli, as has
Ralph Hogan.
Ralph
Does that
Hogan
get
and,
you
Steve Nocco in Tingsboro.
Does that get you the in for people to say these are the people that have mounted the right?
Let's not forget Kempton Gigi. We've got to say all 5 names.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I have personal preferences, but I don't need to. I can be nonpartisan in this role because I'm not here to advocate on behalf. I'm not even accidentally on purpose.
All right. So
I can't even figure
try to get yourselves informed.
Are you trying to
people.
Google?
And I do know the
I'm seeing
Lowell
if I
Sun,
can
and I
give
do
them
know
the
Inside
stickers
Lowell,
on
and CAP will tell you the names of the 5 people that are running for those write-in seats, tell you which community they're running in and where you should make sure to write them in. When you write them in, there's been some disagreement, Jack, about, well, if you don't fill the oval next to the write-in slot, that vote is not going to count. My information is, at least in Lowell, that the elections director, Greg Pappas, told me the instructions will be, if the name is written counted. It's obviously the intent of the voter, which then, we start to potentially go down some legal rabbit holes if any of these races are close enough and some votes have been counted, others discounted, etc. So let's pray that we don't have this, and that whoever wins comfortably enough that we don't go through this. But what is your understanding of the proper way to write in and what will be accepted?
My understanding is if you fill in the oval for the write-in candidate, right, when the card goes through, it sums up all your ballots, right? If you don't vote for the state auditor because you just can't pick between the two candidates, right? It just considers that blank.
The two Italians.
But if
They're all the same, according to Jack.
I love red gravy. But you fill in the oval for the write-in. It doesn't know who you wrote in, but it does count. So when the ticket at the end of the machines print out a ticket, right? It'll say there's say there was 500 ballots cast at that precinct, and it says there's 250 write-ins, right? It's gonna count 250 write-ins. Now, at the end of after 8 o'clock, they're gonna hand count the ballots, right? Because they sum the write-ins and then they reallocate. They take the 500 and then they reallocate them to the different candidates based on what name is written in.
So don't expect early results in those races.
In that specific race, it's all those ballots will be counted for all the other races, right? Those sums will all be there. But no, the thing is that the unofficial election results will be delayed from City Hall because each polling location has to do their hand counts in their location.
Correct.
So
are they allowed? So the tradition is that, say, voting stops at 8, at 8:10, 8:15, somewhere there about, the guy, the head poll worker, whatever the title is, prints out a sheet, reads the results to everybody in the room, and then goes and puts that piece of paper on the window or the door so people can see it. And that's how, Steve Panagiotakis had his network, and we'd find election results early. However, in this case, they're going to have to count the write-in votes at the polling locations.
Yeah.
Okay, which will take a while. Are they allowed to print those printout sheets that will show the total number of write-in votes, but not the results? Are they allowed to post those on there? So we'll know in the Rodney Elliott, Carla Miller race, for example, what the results were. But and we'll know for the Maura Healey, Jeff Deal race, the auditor race, etc., and the ballot questions. Or are they going to wait until all the write-ins have been tabulated and then post them? Because I want to know how late I'm going to be here on election. It all comes back to me and my selfish needs.
I'm not clear on that. I'm going to imagine that they post the tapes before they do the write-in reallocation.
Yeah, you're not going to know the Voke thing for a while.
The question, there's another question. The question I have is, what if, so in the Lowell section of the ballot, there's Freddie Bahu's name with a bubble next to it, right? Then there's a blank spot with a bubble next to it. What if I write in one of the two candidates, right? I write in.
So it's Ralph Hogan or Anthony Millicent.
Okay. But I don't fill in the bubble, right? So the write-in sum is going to be incorrect because in that case, you might actually have 525 write-in, right? But only tabulated 500 because there's 25 people that didn't fill in the bubble. Will those be counted? I'm going to go out on a limb, right, and say yes, as long as the candidate's name is written in the Lowell portion. But if you write in some candidate in the wrong town spot,
now you're getting to the juicy part.
They're not likely to count it, all right? But if there was some sort of litigation associated to it, a judge could sort of overrule.
Correct, because if you're trying to determine the intent of the voter, let's say they write, and again, we're going to pick Kelly Richardson. You write Kelly Richardson into the Drake slot
or the Lowell slot because you know him from Drake.
Right? So I was going to give you the easy one to determine if you're the judge or the election official.
Right.
You write Kelly Richardson and Drake because there's nobody else there. It's Matt Sheehan who's getting in, and Kelly, or you write Kelly Richardson in Tingsboro or wherever. Do you count that in Dunstable? in your individual communities, whether it's the small towns or the big cities tally. Now, the point you brought is, how many people know Kelly Richardson is the police chief of Lowell? I guarantee you a lot of people are going to write in Kelly Richardson's name in Lowell, which then takes votes away from Ralph Hogan and Anthony Miller, see, because you're not going to have any other spots to write in.
Right.
So this is now, do you count that vote for Kelly Richardson?
For the Dunstable seat?
For the Dunstable seat?
I don't think the election officials are going to do that. So if I write in Donald Duck, right, I fill in that bubble write-in and I write in Donald Duck. Donald Duck didn't contact the elections commission, the elections office, and say I'm running for it. So there's a name they describe, like basically like on the horse race, they're called the also-rans, right? So there could be a bunch of also-ran.
Oh, so you're thinking Kelly Richardson would be.
So he would just be lumped in with the also-rans because Kelly Richardson is not running in Lowell, he's running in Dunstable.
And rightfully so, because if you don't know that he's running in Dunstable and not in Lowell.
Yeah, screw you. You're a dumb voter, like those voters you were like ragging on not too long ago.
But if I'm if I'm in Dunstable, if I live in Dunstable and I'm a Dunstable person and I care about the outcome of this election, I don't want people that write in his name in Lowell to be counted towards my Dunstable.
I just,
and if I'm Giggy, maybe I argue that and say, why would you allow Kelly Richardson ballots that were put, I'm not advising Giggy's campaign, right? But like look at when push comes to shove and the lawyers come out, it's not nice. Nobody's nice then.
Why do we make? You know who makes out in this whole situation? The
lawyers always make.
I just wish there was an organization that could put some information there about this and like kind of sort it out for people.
Why don't you do it? You have to inside Lowell.
Imagine if we had a nonprofit that was simply devoted to getting like
voter information
how to vote as opposed to how to vote and like we're going to tell you how to vote.
This would be a great use of those funds in that time.
I feel bad because I've been sort of hard on Lowell because I generally like it's a continuation of Move Lowell Forward, so I'm sympathetic, right?
I think it's a great.
But it's I'm unhappy with their strategic blunder. But like this point here about why did they focus on the ballot questions instead of informing voters on this I'm even like more in the hole with them right now because they could have spent time on helping us figure this stuff out.
But every day, okay, all right, this is okay. The Fair Share Amendment affects like a lot of people. Question 1, question 4, those affect a lot of people. There's a lot of advocacy going on
it's only
around
going to affect about 5 millionaires in the state, right? Isn't that what the advocates tell you?
And the people that benefit from the $2 billion annual tax base, additional tax base that goes towards transportation.
Let's not relitigate this question.
Anyway, exactly. You're right. But
Jack's just glad he sold his house before this thing came up.
I'm glad I sold
you would have been in the millionaire bracket.
No.
You would have been. You might have been close.
No, he was in Centerville. He wasn't in Christian Hill.
That's true. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
He had chalk lines in front of his house.
Yeah, I sold my house for $330,000, not $1 million. But when you sell real estate, you get
you weren't higher up.
money as long as you don't keep the money.
It's a 1033 exchange, 1233 exchange.
Yeah, so that's not. When you talk about, I just want to say that
people
in Massachusetts, right? You don't leave Massachusetts because of necessarily just flee because of taxes. The state that you go to have to have like educated workers. Massachusetts has those in spades. There's a lot of benefits for living in the state of Massachusetts. If you want to pinch your pennies and flee to Florida, all right, that's your business, right? Like that's your business. People want to squander money on superfluous purchases, right? If they want to go to a state where workers can't read or write, that's their business.
Or consumers can't afford to pay for their goods.
There's a lot of stuff in Massachusetts, which is why the traffic flows from New Hampshire to Massachusetts. Workers, infrastructure, right? All these, there's the higher education institutions, the hospitals. All these things are a magnet to draw people. Sure. People are leaving Massachusetts maybe because they're aging out.
So why isn't it drawing? So where everyone just staged up, even though we import all these students who come here for 4 to, I don't know, however many years they're getting their education at these wonderful colleges and universities. Why aren't they staying to replace the people that
I
are
came to
aging out?
Lowell to attend the university, and I stayed.
You did, but it's
Yes.
going in the opposite direction, though.
Well, you know,
We should be growing our population, not trying to tread water by trading off people of means
Well, it is
for people who
expensive.
now are struggling to make ends meet.
It's expensive to live here, and it's expensive, and we have horrible public transportation, and
Why is it so expensive to live here?
why is it?
Because
We're not
of
gonna
the
go to-
policies that people who are pushing question 1 enact.
Maybe we should get rid of question 1 and just put a toll booth on 495 South, in Route 3 South, rather. That's what I
I
mean.
know they put one on 93. Once you once you can smell Winnipesaukee, whack.
No, right there, right on
it
Nashua,
should be more-
right on Salem and Nashua,
And
toll
the Globe
booth.
had an article, but it
One
should be
way.
more expensive the higher during rush hour. It should be more expensive than during non-rush hour.
All right, guys, gals,
Talk about that.
thank you.
sometime.
The Pod Squad. We got a fun little dynamic going here.
Yeah, it's not stressful at all.
I'll be psyched when we can stay under 60 minutes.
Yeah, no, we wasted 15 minutes of the beginning meandering, but that's all right.
You need
I
a
need to do
non-stop.
4 hours of radio, which was basically 2 hours of talk if you
true.
cut out all the commercials.
That's on you, Julie. All right. McDonough doesn't let us get away like this.
Well, he can threaten you with,
You need to
What,
have
bombing fluid?
You need to have him mentor you.
We need a whiteboard and a timer.
He's very good.
we
about
need
it.
John
Gotta
has
incorporate
reached
the
out,
whiteboard.
And a
offered to
timer.
help any way he can. I'd love, there's a place for, I think there's a place for a City Life like show here. Because Lord knows I'm not doing 5 days a week.
Right.
So I mean, to the people who are expecting me to do this all the time, it's not going to happen.
You need a live show.
I'll do periodic. I'm going to do
Live show.
a live
Like,
show.
I think like
a
three
weekly live show.
3 days a week.
I think that's good.
I'm not doing 5 days a week. There's
3 days a week.
Batch is doing podcasts. Mikaela, you can do them. Jack is eventually going to take the training wheels off and start to do his
I
own.
thought Republicans worked.
We do.
Kidding.
I got 3 jobs. I need to work so the
I
Bernie
just
bros
did
can
it.
get
Only
paid
3
share.
jobs, man. You're such a lazy.
He's got 4 jobs. He has to fight. His 4th job is figuring out how to vote for the Voke scoop thing.
You know what? Because it is a job. It is a job.
That's going to ruin our election night coverage. I'm telling you, there's so many people who are going to be ticked about that.
Don't tell Acer about
My
that. He'll be
fear
freaked
is
out.
they're not going to be able to post any results until they actually get.
So this is insider stuff, and I think I'm right, but I could be wrong. Most of the big election people, like the Maura Healeys, they're not counting every precinct. They pick based on data what they consider bellwether precincts. So they'll send a few people out, the political operatives that we all know, right?
Yeah, just go to the Riley.
They'll send them to the whatever. They'll send them
the
to the
way.
Riley or to the senior center. So if we have all these polling locations, they might hit 3 of them. They'll get the numbers. They'll call back into the war room. In the war room, if they hit their goals in those precincts, then they're going to project.
So you
They
can,
don't necessarily need.
yeah, you can skip Pawtuckettville.
I don't anticipate much drama statewide because I don't think Lowell is going to determine the statewide races either at this point. It's not like Brown and Coakley.
Do we have any contested races, really?
I think the ballot questions is really where your only drama is. Maybe the
We didn't
Carla
talk
Miller,
about the
Rodney
Dem-
Elliott race, gets close. I don't, I wouldn't bet the ranch on it, but who knows? But that's why we'll be here live.
Good luck with that.
Great. So, Batch, Mikaela, Jack, thank you, folks.
Thanks,
Good to
Teddy.
have you here.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Inside View with Teddy Panos, another long edition of Inside View with Teddy Panos.
Hour and a
We
half.
appreciate you folks being with us. We're going to post this on our, it'll be on our website, InsideLowell.com. It'll be on our YouTube channel. Make sure you check it on out. We'll be back again, as we mentioned, election night coverage live on November 8th. We'll do a recap show on November 9th. A number of other podcasts have been posted and will be posted as well in the coming days. So check those out, read our articles, and become part of the Inside Lowell family. Do not miss this train, especially if you're an advertiser. Take care, everybody.